Okay, good afternoon, Auburn Alliance Church. This Friday, 5 to 5. Pastor Jim and I coming to you to be a voice of encouragement and to just touch base with you in your home and where you are at. But many of you know that, again, just in repetition, Becky and I are still quarantining. Is that the right way of saying it? Quarantining?
I think we could say that you have been sequestered in your home. You have been locked in. The windows have been closed, and the yellow tape has been wrapped around your building.
Yeah, they've posted a guard. He's walking out in front, back and forth. Yep, just like at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Just kidding. But no, I've been going out in the yard and different things, and some folks have been extremely gracious and have done some errands for Becky and I, and so we are deeply appreciative of that, all from our church family, of course. But many of you know we were down in Maryland, Ocean City in specific, and that's the reason for the quarantining, and it's my family reunion. And so I know, Pastor Jim, you were down in North Carolina seeing family, and of course you had to do exactly the same thing. And it was we had a fantastic time with our family. It's something that we've been doing as a family, going to Ocean City, Maryland. We were calculating it out. I think we're at 70 years now.
Wow.
For 70 years. The first time that my mother ever went to Ocean City with her parents and her aunts and uncles was when she was like 4 or 5. And so she's right around that age. I'm not going to say her age, but in case she watches. But but it's been a great experience for us as a church, as a family to go down there. And as many of you know, I've shared this before. We are riddled with pastors in our church, in our family. So I keep wanting to say church family, but it's not church family. It's my family. So there's about 6 of us, and they are all Christian and Missionary Alliance pastors. So I get to see them, and it was a great time down there.
So my big question for you is, how many roller coasters did you ride? Because you're in Ocean City, and there's a lot of roller coasters there.
There are a couple of roller coasters. There's my favorite roller coaster is called the Tidal Wave. It's down at the inlet, down at the very bottom end of the island of Ocean City. I did not ride it. I didn't ride any roller coasters. It was sort of weird. Like, you know, the boardwalk was open. We went there for one evening. It's strange walking the boardwalk with a mask on, and there was a lot less people. The number of people were a lot less. But I didn't ride any roller coasters. And I know you love roller coasters. I love roller coasters, but didn't have a chance to do that.
Yeah, this is going to be a roller coaster free year for me, where I won't ride a roller coaster this summer. This is the 3rd time I did not go to Cedar Point since 1989. That's a long string of times not to go. And my kids were like, "Hey, we can go and see what it's going to be like." And I'm like, "I'm not going to go if it's not going to be fun. Why would we go? Let's just wait till next year. It'll be fun next year."
Yes.
So,
do you need help? Do you need to talk to somebody about the fact that you're not going to get onto a roller coaster this year?
No, I actually bought a roller coaster, and I ride it every day.
Oh, Blueberry.
It's just like launching on the Wicked Twister, man. It goes so fast. It's pretty cool.
But that's a roller coaster off the rails. So
it's the longest roller coaster ride I've ever been on.
That's cool. That's
Especially
really
when
cool.
We went to North Carolina. That was like a 12-hour ride.
Right.
So anyway, what did you do on your trip? Did you hang out at the beach? Did you go fishing? What did you do?
Okay, some of the things that we did, we fished. Mostly we fished in the intercoastal waterways, which is the Bay Area. Some of my family like to go surf fishing. I don't do surf fishing. I've done it before, but I didn't. So we fished on the intercoastal waterways. We fished for flounder. I caught flounder. We all caught flounder. Most of them were small. I did catch one keeper, and I did bring that home to enjoy. But no, we spend time together mostly with family. It was interesting to see how my family responded to this pandemic, because there are people there from New Jersey, Florida, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York, of course, us. So they come from all over the East Coast, and we all converge. There were 60 of us. If we were all there, we would be over about 75 or so would have converged on Ocean City. But we spent most of our time just talking and interacting and just catching up on where everybody is. And I had some really cool conversations, spiritual conversations with some of my relatives that actually I'd like to share. It's a pretty cool thing. So
yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. So one of the things, because of my family's have been making this trek every year to Ocean City, and Becky and I have been pretty faithful to go there since for as long as we've been married, except for our time when we were overseas. You know, we've been married 32 years come this September. So and we've been going every year, even when we were dating, we went there. But one of the things that I noticed in this experience this time in Ocean City was there are spiritual truths and spiritual realities that take place within my family that comes out of the family experience of coming together for this family reunion. So what do I mean by that? So when you're sitting on the beach, you're sitting on a front porch of one of your relatives and you have these spiritual conversations, the impact that conversation has on both individuals has affected them in such a way that it has changed the trajectory of their spiritual life for the good, that is. And as I was looking back on a series of things that have happened in our family as a whole, I realized all of them converged in Ocean City over the years. So let me give you an example. I have a nephew, or a cousin, I should say. I look at him like a nephew, but I have a cousin who is in Pittsburgh who adopted a child. And last year's Ocean City, they were fostering this child, and when we have our church service, because our family has our own church services on Sunday, and we get together and worship, and there's somebody that speaks and different things. We just don't take an offering. And so at the time of prayer, this couple, my cousin, asked us to pray, to lay hands on them and to pray over their foster son, that they would be able to adopt him. And so when we brought them forward and we laid hands on them and prayed, we were trusting God that God would work out the details for them to adopt this boy. Well, about 3 months ago, that opportunity was given to them by the state of Pennsylvania to adopt this little boy, and if they followed through with it, of course. And so now, a year later, we're in Ocean City, we're there, and when opportunities for prayer and testimony come up, my cousin gets up and he tells the story about how we had prayed last year for the adoption and how it's been accomplished. Now that's one experience. If I could keep you here for a couple of hours telling you different stories of individuals where exactly the same thing happened, where we came together we came together as a family to pray during our church service over a particular need, either a health-related need or a job-related need or a family-related need or a spiritually related need. And we prayed as a family. We left, went home to our respective places. God does something in that year, and then when we come back together, we see the hand of God work in those situations. And I could tell you seriously, and I'm not exaggerating, I could walk you back because in my family of 30 years, 40 years, where we prayed for individuals. I have a cousin that was hit by a train, thought he was going to die. God supernaturally healed him. And of course, he was there in Ocean City. And I can remember that year we were in Ocean City and I was a teenager. What did we do? We prayed for him that God would not only spare his life, but bring him back to Christ. And of course, God did that in an incredible way. I had another cousin that was hit by a car one year, and exactly the same thing. Prayed for him, prayed for his healing, prayed for salvation, or at least a resurgence of Jesus in his life. God did that, and he was there in Ocean City this year. So, and as a family, I was saying this to some of my family members, look at the history here of God's hand intervening in our family's life. And so I shared this with my uncle, and my uncle went back to his condo and he said, Mark, do you realize that that's what Bethel was to the people of Israel? And I said, really? He says, yes. He said, the city or the town and the place of Bethel was a place where the people of Israel were often brought back by God to that location so as to have an encounter with God, to remind them not only of the greatness of who God is, but to also for God to work in their lives. And so when my uncle and I were conversing on the beach, talking about these kinds of spiritual things, I said, Ocean City has become our Bethel as a family. It's a place where we come back, we interact with God, God reveals himself, and he has changed the trajectory of our family because of our time together as a family. And I think as I was sharing this with somebody else recently, I said, I think all of us as followers of Jesus have a place, a Bethel, a place that we go back to. Some people, it's Delta. You know, they go to Delta Lake Family Camp, and therein, they may go for the camping, they may go for the fun. It may be the spiritual high and a spiritual renewal, but every time they go there, God brings them back to that place where they encounter him, and God does an amazing thing. So,
yeah, and you know, the best thing about Delta for myself and my family is the time that we sit talking to people.
Yes.
The Walters porch right there in the corner, prime condition, right next to the bell. You know, I could sit on that porch for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And as you're sitting there on the porch, you're going to have a conversation with 20 or 30 different people who come and sit on the porch for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yep.
And it's the most beautiful thing. It's almost like a family reunion where you get to sit and talk to people you haven't seen in a year or two. And I know what you're saying, Pastor Mark. And for me, I'm very, very thankful for Delta.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I miss most of not being part of Delta for the last few years, is that you just, you can't have that continuity of connecting with people. And there's something about the Spirit of God in us that even if it's been a year that we haven't seen this person, we sit down next to them and God brings us as close as we were a year ago. Amen. And allows us to share with one another. And we part just really appreciating the Lord and appreciating the blessing of the friendship that we have with this other person.
Yep. Isn't it awesome that Delta is not just a campground? It's a place to encounter God.
Yeah.
And that God has made it a Bethel for many people.
Yeah.
For many generations.
Right.
I mean, you're talking, it's almost 100 years old, I think, if I'm correct. You know, and you're thinking over almost
100, yep.
Yeah, almost 100 years God has used those grounds. Not that the dirt is special, but he has identified that location as a place. Yes, people come and stayed in tents. Yes, people stood in line at the dining hall. Yes, people went swimming and fishing and, you know, and all that went with it, and they played games. But it was a place where they could encounter God. And just as you recently shared about your experience in sitting at Delta and listening to Dr. Stumbo and how it transformed your life. See, that's a Bethel. That's a place where we come back to him, or we come to that location, that geographical location, and God says, I have anointed that place because I'm going to reveal myself to you. And what a great, great truth that is. And I hope that our listeners have a place like that. I hope that they have a place where God, if they look back on their life, maybe it's our church, maybe it's Delta, maybe it's another location where they can go and experience the person of God in a deep and intimate way. Because that's what this whole Christian thing is about. It's about walking intimately with Him. Yeah. And I love that about who our God is.
Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about your trip, and for sharing some of those things. I think, you have such a privilege of having so many ordained pastors and pastor families within your family, and such a great Christian heritage that's there. And many of us, we don't have that. When we get together for a family reunion, it's not a spiritual event. It's more of just a family gathering. So for you to be able to combine family reunion with a Delta-like experience is such an amazing blessing. Pretty cool.
Well, that's what I share. I share this with people. I say, you might be the first that's a follower of Christ within your family. I'm not talking about you specifically, Pastor Jim, but I'm talking about others that I've interacted with. And I says, you are the beginning of a legacy of following Christ. And pray about that. Pass that on. I've shared this before. My grandmother, a godly, faithful follower of Jesus, 96 years old this year, still praying in earnestness that God would continue to work within our family. My great-grandfather prayed for his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. He prayed for me, and I didn't even know who he was. Yeah. But that's because God listened to the prayers of the saints who earnestly came after him. Mm-hmm. And I'm encouraging people, you might be the first, but you're the beginning of this line of what God is capable of doing within your family. Because you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't. And I'm not saying that out of fear. I'm saying that out of anticipation and an excitement of what God is capable of doing within our lives and within our family. Because I long for my grandchildren to follow Jesus. I long for that. I feel it. I physically feel it right now. Yes, we're in a virtual context, but I feel it right here in my chest. And I long for them to know him. And so that's where I think it starts. So
it's not just that I like being around people. I love being around people because I see the reflection of Christ in them. Amen. Or I have the opportunity to speak the Christ's truth into their life so that the reflection of Christ is going to begin in them, or it's going to be turned up within them. Right. It's who God made me to be. Amen. It's part of being part of his family, that I want everybody to be part of his family. Amen. Yeah. I appreciate you. And I
appreciate you, man.
We've talked before about how much we appreciate working together and how much I missed you in these times that you were gone, and now times that we're having to work virtually again. But it's just such a great privilege for you to come back from your vacation and to know that you spent time with the Lord and you were encouraged and you were blessed. And we as a church are going to benefit because of that deeper relationship with Christ that you came away from vacation with. So I'm excited about seeing how this sprinkles onto all of the things that you teach us, all of the things that we have in our leadership meetings, the things that you and I have in our many, many conversations together. But I just really praise the Lord for this time that you've had, and thanks for sharing from your heart. So for those of you from Auburn Alliance Church watching this video, we love you and we appreciate you. Yeah. And we're so excited about being able to worship together again this weekend, and looking forward to another week next week of being able to share with you things that are going on in our hearts, in our lives, and the life of our church through this time of 5 to 5. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.